Hey everybody, this is Strict 9 with Strict 9 GP, and welcome to another episode of my Out of the Park Baseball 19 playthrough with the Reds, the GM challenge I'm doing with them. We are now at the start of spring training 2022, finished out the rest of the off season offline since the last episode, and it was pretty uneventful for that last episode. I know we were unable to really make too many moves, but offline, I made, I think, a fairly big move, and I'm going to talk about that this episode before we get started simming through spring training. But I'm starting here at the off-season summary by team, which is under the off-season center. If you go into your MLB menu, I go here a lot throughout the off-season to kind of see how I'm stacking up with the rest of the league in terms of wins above replacement gained or lost. And for right now, we are currently ninth overall in Major League Baseball. We are a little bit better than the Cubs in terms of net gain and wins above replacement. We have 2.3 to their 1.3, so I'm hopeful that's a good sign. If you look at the move though that we made, and it was really a move. I decided to keep working, keep trading Jesse Winker, keep throwing him out there, and I was able to trade for Dallas Keuchel, who is a 3.5-star pitcher. He's at the tail end of his career. He's signed for 2 more years, and he's really better than any free agent pitchers that were out there, and still got good personality ratings. He's coming off 2 fairly solid years with the Dodgers, and I know he's up there in age, and I'm hoping this is not something like the Hamill move that I made a couple seasons ago with this Reds team, where he gets injured as soon as I trade him. But he's coming off a 5.5 wins above replacement year, which was tops in the National League for pitchers, and you can see over the last 3 years, he's finished above 3. Where I'm at on this pitching staff, that's pretty good value. And with Joey Votto retiring, I felt like I could invest 20 plus million in Keuchel for another couple years and be okay with it. It's not going to hurt our team too much to do that. And that's where he's landing on the contract. 21.4 million this year. 20.4 million next year. There's no vesting or team options there, so he is locked in for these next 2 years, unless I do trade him away. I don't expect he's going to get back to that magic of like 2015 when he won the Cy Young Award, but I'm just hoping that he can get close to what he's done for the Dodgers the last couple years, and if he does, then I'll be really happy, and that really gives me a little bit of breathing room on that pitching staff, that rotation, which was by far the weakest link on this team. And didn't feel like I was losing too much trading away Winker. Winker is a good offensive player. He's just a 2.5-star player, though, and he took a lot in arbitration at $13 million. So I'm losing right at $8 million this year in that Keuchel trade. So I felt like $8 million more for a good 3.5-star pitcher. I think that's a pretty good investment. Winker, I don't think is going to factor in long-term on this team. I have questions about his range out there in the outfield, his position ratings. Starting him every day there, I think, was going to be a struggle. And he's coming off his weakest offensive year since he's been with us. So those were all the considerations I made in making the trade. I'm hoping that it was a good one. And then we did pick up those 2 pitchers in the bullpen from the last episode. Jake McGee, a pretty decent lefty. I'm hoping it's going to get a lot of appearances and hopefully hold down the lefty specialist role. And we also picked up Archie Bradley, another pretty solid 3-star reliever, gives you a lot of appearances. ERA's been pretty solid in that 3 range, for the last 4 seasons. So I'm hoping he gives me that. I signed him for 3 years, around $4 million a year. So all in all, I think I did what I had to do to improve the pitching with what I had to work for. We only lost Scooter Gennett, Lorenzen, Cishek, Gurriel. What we lost in the offseason wasn't necessarily irreplaceable. So I kind of like how we're coming into this spring training. Hopefully we made the moves that will be enough to keep us going. If you look for the Cubs, they did add Shane Green, who seems to be a little bit on the back end of his effectiveness. Will Smith, who was with us last year and didn't really play too well for us, but did look good for St. Louis. Jose Arena. So it looks like they picked up quite a few pitchers there as well. No real superstar signings on that team. Arena was probably the best, and he's coming off probably career type year. I don't know if he'll be able to duplicate that. And let's see who they lost. They lost Trevor May. They lost Rizzo, free agent. He went to the Giants. They lost several, I guess, bullpen or bench players, platoon players, but nothing really major. So I'm expecting they'll probably be our primary competition this year. Maybe Pittsburgh with an outside chance. It's going to be hard to say with Pittsburgh right now until we play out some of the regular season games. But what we're going to do is look at the team, and then we'll go sim through the spring training and see how it lines up. And coming into spring training, the roster size is usually low 30s for me. I'm at 36 right now. I know you can go up to 60. I typically don't go that high in this game because it's so many moves you wind up having to make when spring training is over. But let's take a look at the pitching staff that Girardi's going to have starting off. So he's going with a 6-man rotation. He's actually leading off with Molly. Molly also 3.5 stars. Of the two of them, you consider his stuff is quite a couple points better than Keuchel's. I'm okay with making Molly the first starter on this staff. I just don't know. Scouts got him pretty much middle, probably mid-rotation as his high end. I just worry about the matchups with Molly. I think he's going to be outmatched in a lot of games early on especially. So I don't know if that's going to factor into the season that he has. But after Keuchel, it's going to be Castillo, who is 3-star. Yeah, wish his movement was a little bit better, but he still gives you fairly decent strikeouts, control, double digits in wins. Hopefully would be another expectation from him. And then Luke Weaver, then Alcantara, and then outside chance of Puck. If he just has a great spring, might land that 5th spot, but I doubt it. I think it's going to pretty much go with the way it is right now. And then you got Chad Green holding the closer roll down. You got Santillan. Where is he at? He's going to be in long relief. I expect this guy to stick. He was a late season call-up last year. If he has a pretty decent spring, I expect to keep him around. But we'll have to see. But you got Herget, Peralta setting up, and then some of those guys that picked up, McGee, Bradley. McGee is actually not going to be the lefty specialist. That's going to go to Peralta. So it's going to be Drake Fellows, who's a long relief emergency starter. I'd like to see him develop eventually into maybe a 4th or 5th starter position, but he's probably not going to be there this year. And then Hunter Green, who's may work his way into a spot starter, but I don't think he's going to make the rotation at this point. And then looking at the lineups, we did pick up a pretty decent catcher in Rutschman in the offseason. We got him in a trade. It was last July. We traded him for Juan Nicasio, and he got the call up this year. And for now, he's going to be starting about every second game. So he's platooning with Feliciano right now. Ramirez is going to be starting at first with Bellinger getting some consideration there. Shedrick Long is back. Hopefully he stays healthy this year. Senzel at third. Simmons is going to be short. Gibson, Trammell, and then Cad is going to get denied at least against righties. But yeah, he's going to get the starting nod there against every pitching matchup. Looks like he's platooning with Almora for right now. But, you know, we've had a good run since I started this playthrough with that 2018 season. We've had a good run with rookies on this Reds team. I mean, we've had a couple, I think, rookies of the year. Trammell probably should have gotten some consideration last year. I think a glitch kept him from getting any votes. But, hey, if Cad starts out hot and wins that center field job, might be another year for him to be a rookie of the year. But I'm going to take a drink of water here, and we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll sim like a week at a time until we get through the spring training and look at who's going to have the best chances of landing down the starting roles. So Anderson Simmons hitting 625 in the spring already. Looks like we're 1-2. So struggling a little bit in the first couple weeks. 2-5, 3-5, 4-5. So looks like we're going to be 4-6. Let me take a look at the news here. Aroldis Chapman's still out there, and looks like Philadelphia's interested in him. I'm not sure why he hasn't been getting... He may have been hurt last year. Let's see, 2021. Yeah, he was out for 2-3 months last year. But hasn't really been hurt too often in this playthrough so far. He's up to 289 saves. Not a lot, considering how long he's been around. And Rocky's also interested. So $6.5 million, 3 years. Whew. Man, that stuff and movement is pretty good combination there for a closer. 20 stuff, which is high as you can go, and 15 movement. For my scout, OSA has him at potential 16. So even with his control being off a little bit, you can be okay with that. He's a 14.2 career Ks per 9 innings. That's really good. He's struggled a little bit in that department in this playthrough, right around 13 plus though, but pretty good numbers. I'm tempted. I'm tempted because now he's got Herget closing right now. Which is a surprise. Have I got an injury here that I wasn't aware of? Wow, he's got Chad Green starting? That does not make any sense. So he put Chad Green starting. And looks like he moved Sandy Alcantara out, put him in a relief spot. That's very interesting. Let me play another week out and see how that's looking. So we're 4-6 through 10 games in the spring, 5-6. So 6-6, backed up to 7 500, and Hunter Green is going to be out for 4 weeks. Pretty big blow for the bullpen. Let's see if there's any other news. Zach Britton is also still out there, and at this point, you can get these guys for pretty good money. Let me see if he's keeping Chad Green in that. No, he moved him out. No, he did not move him out. He put him in the first spot. That is unexpected. It's really unexpected. He has not. You'd have to go back, I guess, to the minors for this guy. When he came in to baseball as a starter, but he has not started at all since 2016 when he first came up to the majors. Pretty scary because he's got a 6 stamina. He's not going to go deep at all in a lot of games. Let me see. Front office. I've got plenty of money to sign a closer, and that has me really scrambling at the moment. So let me see what closers are out there. And I don't want to look at posted. I want to look at all free agents. So let's look at all the closers. So we've got Zach Britton, Aroldis Chapman, Kenley Jansen. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of those guys. Zach Britton's coming off a very good one. Let me see what he would get. 2 years, $10.8 million for the most part. Kenley Jansen, he would go 2 years, $10 million. Let's look at their ratings against lefties and righties. Man, Zach Britton is really rated very highly. Let's see if he's had any injuries. Not a whole lot of injuries from him either. I think I'm going to offer and just see if Zach Britton would be willing to go for that, because man, that would definitely give me an upgrade at closer. But if they are going to leave him, if Girardi's gonna leave Green in that starting rotation, the Cubs are now in a bidding war for him, and I expect this will be a bidding war. I'm just gonna keep offering it and see what we get. And we're up to 9-6. We're actually leading the Central. Let's go ahead and take a look at spring coverage. So 9-6. We're on a pretty big 5-game winning streak there. Cubs and Pittsburgh right behind. Well, St. Louis even. Every team in the Central is at 500 or better. Braves, Nationals, pretty decent start there in the National League East. Arizona 12-4. They have the best record in baseball in the spring. And then Marlins and Philadelphia struggling. Also the Mets. And then in the American League, looks like the Red Sox, White Sox, Twins having the best start. Now I'm going to go ahead and look at how things are going. I'm just really did not see that coming on Chad Green. So in his 3 starts, 11 and a third innings, he's got a 3.18 ERA, a WHIP of 132. He's rated as a 4-star starting pitcher from my scout and from OSA. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, that's Chad Green, then Molly, Keuchel, Castillo, Weaver. Keuchel's having a good spring, 12 innings, 2.25 ERA. Molly not looking too bad. Puck's looked fairly good, too, in his starts. Luke Weaver, 2.25 ERA. He's looked pretty good. Castillo's looked good. Santillan not doing too well. Weiss struggling. Herget, I just don't think he would be the long-term closer. So I really think I'm going to have to sign somebody. If it's not Britton, somebody in that free agency. So there's a lot of pitchers here on the staff, though. I'm going to have to move around when spring is over. I mean, there's several here like Mitchell, Scott Moss. Probably call those guys down for now. Reyes, he won't last, but a lot of guys to move down. And then in the lineup side, so Feliciano's struggling, but Rutschman having a pretty decent spring so far. That might be enough for him to come out of nowhere. He's rated 3 stars right now from my scout. He might come out of nowhere and take over the catching job. Ramirez is struggling in the spring. Long looking pretty good, hitting 300. Senzel doing okay. Simmons having a good spring. Gibson struggling at 179 batting average. Jake Mangrum, I think he's going to be, even though he's never played higher than AA before last year when I called him up, I think he's going to stick around. I think his ratings are good enough that he's got good speed, good defense. He's good to have off the bench. Trevor Cadd looking pretty good in the spring. Almora's really struggling. Taylor Trammell looking good as well. So about what I'm expecting. A few guys kind of on the fence about in terms of whether they're going to be staying up or whether they're even going to be keeping the starting role. But that's going to be Girardi's call at the end of the day to make. I think we're set pretty much everywhere. I think Dahl will probably be called down, and maybe Bellinger. Let me see, 1, 2, 3. So I gotta move 2 of these guys. I usually go with 13 position players. Looking at it now, I like going with 5 outfielders. So I might change my mind on that and keep Mangum and Friedel and Almora, and probably send Dahl and Bellinger down the way it's looking now. But let's go ahead and play through and see if we can get lucky and land Britton. Nah, he's still being I still feel like he's the best. For 2 years, I'm okay. Let me improve. I'll improve this to 13,750. And for 2 years, and let's see if that's enough to get him to sign. So we're 10-7. St. Louis has overcome us there. Yeah, the Cubs, they're determined. Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it. 15 million. No team option. I'll go the 15 million. So the Giants are now in the mix. Tyler Mahle, injured but not seriously. getting up there pretty high now. I don't know if I want to go much higher than that. I may start looking at either Chapman or who was the other one out there? Let me see who's out there still. So we've got closer. These guys are hanging in there to the end. Chapman, Jansen. Yeah, he's looking pretty good. So Britain right now though is favoring that offer. He should. That's pretty high. Let's see what our standings are now. Spring, we are 13-9. So a couple games up over Milwaukee and Pittsburgh and St. Louis. Atlanta now off to a good streak. They're looking good in the East. San Diego looking good in the West. Red Sox, White Sox, A's, Houston looking good in the American League. So let's go ahead. I'm going to play this game at a time here. And so now Houston's on there. So you know what? Buckley found a starting pitcher prospect. Long term maybe. I'm going to see what Jansen will take. And make a play for him. So we lost 2 to Milwaukee. That's not too good. So what would that give us now? We are 13-11, tied with Milwaukee. Playing Atlanta, finally win. Got 3 more games left in the spring. No word yet from Jansen. Now Toronto's getting into the mix. And okay. So it's probably going to go, this is probably going to stretch out a little bit. I've seen it stretch into the regular season still with the back and forth going on. Let's go ahead though, and I'm going to take a look at the team. And we finished with tied with Milwaukee for the best record in the Central, so not too bad. And we've got 35 players now with Hunter Green on the disabled list. We got 35, so we got 10 players we've got to get moved down. And pitching wise, I know this is where I'm going to have to move most of the guys. So we've got Evan Mitchell for sure. He just doesn't have the numbers right now to stick at the majors. And I'm going to have to put him on waivers. Reyes, same deal. He just does not have the individual ratings to warrant staying. And Christopher Rivera got some upside, but I don't think he's ready yet. This guy might be potential closer. But he has never pitched above high A. And he looked good in the minors, or excuse me, in spring training. But I can move him down and still have control. Zach Weiss, he's been with this team for a while now and just hasn't been able to stick. He's only a 2-star from OSA, and he's going to have to go on waivers as well. And Ohanian, I feel like he's somebody I can call up if I need him late in the season. So who's that lead? And same probably with Maciel. Maciel, don't think he's ready for full-time duties. Although he was decent at times last year. So that leaves me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14. So I've got to cut a couple from here. Man, I wonder about moving him down if it would hurt his development. I don't think Puck, even though he's a lefty, and it's pretty decent against lefties, I don't know where I would keep him. I think Santillan, even though he's got some good ratings, he's didn't have that great of a spring. And Alcantara, same way. I'm going to move Santillan down there, and I'm probably going to, even though he looked okay, I think I'm gonna let Puck be the eye guy out this year. So that would set up the pitching staff for now until unless I get one of these closers that I'm aiming for. So that's 12, and then 2 more to move in the lineups. Let's see who did good. So Rutschman looks like he's got that starting nod. I'm going to put Bellinger down and give him more playing time, and then Colton Dahl. So that'll be how we go into the season. Estrada, can he play first? Yeah, he could probably handle it. So that would put Trammell, Cad, Ramirez, Senzel. Ramirez, he's got that power. I'm hoping he improves his batting average, though. I'm really putting it out there for him because I don't have anybody to replace him at first. So let's go to opening day, and we'll take a look at the preseason predictions. And still wanting Jansen. Let me keep going for him. I'll keep going through that bidding until it gets too high. I wasn't comfortable with Zach Britton at $17 million for a couple years. Now he's at $24 million. If Jansen gets that high, obviously I'm not going to go for it, but we'll see. I'm going to take a look at the preseason predictions. So we've got the owner goal is to make it to the playoffs again. Zach Weiss was claimed from Colorado. I'm okay losing him. I'm also okay losing Evan Mitchell. Both those guys are around 30 years old if they haven't made the team at this point. We got a trade proposal here for Thairo Estrada, a catcher, 1.5-star catcher, and pretty decent reliever, but not enough. And top 100 prospects, nobody from the Reds, but I'm interested in terms of the minor league system rankings. We are We're 15th. Not too bad. Ramirez getting some votes there. He is a potential 3-star player now. It was a 32nd round draft pick. I love when guys like that make the team. So this would be a really huge success story if this guy winds up becoming a star in this league. But he's top ranked prospect from OSA. Center fielder Arroyo, he was a free international free agent signing. Then I've got Trevor Cad, O'Valley. I'm hoping he has some big movement in AA this year. And Drake Fellows, who I'm keeping up in Cincinnati. I hope that he can work his way into that starting rotation within a year or so. But the last thing I want to look at is preseason predictions. So American League first, looks like Yankees and Toronto are going to have good seasons in the East. Probably a toss-up the way this is looking as to who will win it. Boston would play well enough to make the wild card with these predictions. Baltimore, Tampa Bay struggling. They've got Cleveland winning over Minnesota and Detroit in the Central, and they've got Houston beating out the A's in the West. Mookie Betts showing up here for a good year. Stanton, they've got him at 55 home runs. He might be getting close to 500 now. Yeah, he's at 493 for his career, so he should hit 500 if he stays healthy this year. Guerrero Jr., who was the MVP last year, expected to have another good year. Jose Altuve, still productive. He's 31 years old. He's over 2,000 hits now. Still got a shot, I think, at 3,000 for his career. Joey Gallo's on the list here. Mike Trout, although his average is down 276. I don't know how you can have a 15 contact, but be predicted to have like a 273 batting average, 270 batting average. Freddie Freeman now with Toronto, expected to have a good year. Toronto is probably building a pretty decent team here. They got Jose Quintana, Syndergaard. They picked him up in the offseason, so they put some money out to retool that team. And then on the pitching side, you got Syndergaard, Toronto, expected to have a good year. They also picked up Salazar as a free agent. They got him in trade last year from Cleveland. So it's just some so-so years there on the pitching side. And then in the National League, it looks like the Braves going to win the East. Phillies below 500 again, so they're not really liking the Phillies rebuild too much in this playthrough. And then in the Central, they got the Cubs 1 game over the Reds. So we would play well enough to make the wild card again, but lose out barely to the Cubs in that division. And then they got the Dodgers and Diamondbacks, Padres, fairly close race in the West. And then individually, Bryce Harper at Philadelphia now having a good year. Ramirez, they've got his prediction up there pretty high. They expect him to have really just a breakout year, 45 home runs, 135 RBIs. I would love to see that for sure. Cody Bellinger, who's 3-time MVP in this playthrough, expecting to have another good year. Pitching wise, Stroman, who's with Atlanta, they're saying that he's going to have an 18-win year. We've got Keuchel expected to have a decent year for us, and that's it in terms of pitching. But it's going to be hopefully an interesting year. I think if everybody stays healthy, I do think this is a fairly strong team balance-wise. I'm just really interested to see how they moved him around. Girardi did take Green out of that closer spot, which makes a whole lot more sense to me. Now I've got to determine, what am I going to do with those bids I have out there for. I expect it to go again. I think the bidding war is going to keep going because those are some great closers, and teams at this point, there's a lot of teams I'm sure would drop 20 million or so on Jansen or Chapman or Britton. I'm not going to do that. So if it comes back and that last contract wasn't enough for Jansen, I'll be out. I'll let Chad Green stay the closer for one more year, and then in the minors, I've got pretty deep bullpen. Some guys there I think that would be more than adequate if I have some injury problems, but also guys I might be able to trade around as the season goes on. If, say, Rutschman doesn't sit in too well at catcher or Ramirez stumbles at first, and Trevor Cadd, I think it's going to be a lot to expect him. He's starting the majority of the games right now. Almora every third game against righties and lefties. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But I like the depth of this team better than I've liked it in quite a while. Probably since I started, honestly. But that's going to do it. The next episode, I'll take a look at, might go ahead and sim through first month or so of the season and see how we start out, and we'll come back and take it from there. But as always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you next episode.